not me. So anyway, the point of this masterclass is for me to try and give you all a little assistance in working with a choreographer. We can be difficult, no lie. We can be difficult. And so one of the most important things in working with a choreographer is building a relationship so where you have a mutual, because
I think we lost you for a minute. You said building a relationship?
Yes, building a relationship, a mutual relationship and understanding between one another. Because if you as a vocalist are coming in with, and you just kind of let the choreographer take over, and it also depends on your aim, whether it's for a stage performance or whether it's a solo concert. You know, there's two different avenues. We're talking about two different avenues. If you're talking about a stage performance such as a musical or something like that, choreographers pretty much running the show, but you still have a say and you still have your lines, which are very important that you draw or bring to the choreographer's attention. Okay, and I'll touch on those later. As a soloist, also, you need to, there are certain things that you need to keep in mind because we as choreographers, it's very rare that we understand. Hello, who's joining now?
Susan.
Susan.
So I know
Hello,
you're
Sue.
intro, but as soon as you finish your intro, I want to introduce you and let them know who you are.
Okay.
So,
just so that there are things that we as choreographers don't know and don't understand about vocalizing. And so it takes you telling us your strengths, your weaknesses, and the things that you need because you know vocally how to run your show. We don't. We know movement for the most part. You know vocals. And so there has to be a mesh. There has to be an understanding and a working relationship in order to build a compromise to create the best show. And that's what I'm going to help you guys understand.
Love it. I'm so excited today and I'm so happy to have you here. So for anybody who doesn't know Marvin, welcome, by the way, Susan. We have Jesse, Lindsay, Kelly, and Susan here today.
Susan, go ahead and unmute. Go ahead. There you go. Look at you. Yes.
I can also unmute you if you'd like. There we go. Ask to unmute. So we're having everybody unmuted today, which is a little different. Marvin wants everyone unmuted. So you guys can just chime in and jump in and make sure all your questions are answered, which I love. So I just want to introduce Marvin. Marvin is from St. Louis, Missouri. He's currently living in Israel. He started dancing at the age of 17 with local entertainment companies and performing live shows and competitions. In Israel, he has been doing he did the first post-Broadway Israeli production of Rent, music videos and flash mobs which have gone viral, and he's currently teaching in the studio as well. He's primarily an urban hip-hop dancer, but he's also studied jazz, ballet, African, and ballroom, and he meshes these styles together in his teaching and choreography. He has a BA in education from David Yellin College in Jerusalem, and he volunteers for a special needs camp in Jerusalem and speaks several languages, including Hebrew and French. Wow, so you're all over the place. Thank you so much for coming this morning. I'm so excited. Yeah, you got a lot going on. Yeah.
So yeah, guys, again, like Sonia said, I really want this to be, and I'm going to try and touch on as many of the subjects as I wrote down as possible. But if there's something that speaks to you or that's more important that you really feel like, okay, I want to know a little bit more about this, or I feel like this can help me if I touch on this a little bit more, speak up, let me know. I really want you all to get as much as possible out of this meeting or this lecture as possible. Okay. So instead of me just rambling on, it's like, hey, Marvin, can I ask a question about that? Let's go a little bit more in depth. Okay. That's how we learn.
I love it. And you guys all have the PDF. If you look into your, in Zoom, I've added the PDF into the chat of our top 10 we're going to talk about. So if there's anything we don't touch on today, you can refer to that lovely article that Marvin has written for us. Cool.
All right.
So let's do it. So let's get started. So out of the top 10 things that you have recognized singers need to know when we're working with a choreographer, what's the first thing we should talk about?
So if that's the question, I'm not actually going to go in order.
Oh,
I'm actually going to jump to number 7, which is practice your vocals.
Yeah.
And the reason I say this is that it takes a completely different stamina to vocalize on stage than moving on stage. And combining those is a completely different ball game in and of itself. It takes it's a different type of breathing. It's a different type of concentration. It's a completely different level of stamina, and you have to practice that. And I've seen too many people concentrate on one thing and assuming, even people with dance backgrounds or with vocalization backgrounds, saying, okay, I have this already. I'll concentrate on that. I'll nail it down, and I'll get the other part because I know I already have that in the bag. And they won't leave themselves enough time. It'll get down to the last minute, and they go into a crisis because it doesn't feel the way they want it to feel. It doesn't look the way they want it to look, and they are wheezing. They are wheezing. Yes, Jesse.
To vocalize and practice while marking movements on stage to kind of get that into your body, or are you vocalize
while marking, while doing it full out, while you're rehearsing? Okay, any chance you have, you need to do that. Because here's the issue. You can always reserve energy, and then at the end of the show, like, oh, I'm good. I can belt. I can get this last 8 count in. I can show off now. I'm good. I know we have 10 minutes left in the show. I know my vocals aren't that stressful. I'm gonna show out. Okay. Versus not being ready, and you still have 3/4 of a show, half a show, and your lungs are on fire and your legs are on fire because your stamina isn't up and your brain is like, we're not ready. And no one cares. The show must go on. Mm-hmm. All right. So it doesn't matter whether you're in a musical, whether you're a solo concert. All right. You got to get your stamina up. You have to practice those vocals. And also, even putting the stamina part aside, the concentration, just like it's muscle memory in controlling your vocals, controlling your vocal cords to the point where you're not concentrating so much and you can relax. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing in dance. It's muscle memory, it's repetition. But when you're combining the two, and I go through this every class I teach because I teach on the lyrics. So while I'm teaching, I also have to sing what I'm teaching again and again and again. And it is strenuous. Mm. It is strenuous. And I'm not performing, I'm just teaching. So, and having done choreography for stage and also for solo performances, I've seen people make this mistake. So I would say number one, remember to not take it for granted, whether you have strength in vocals or you have strength in movement and choreography, practice them together as much as possible and try to push yourself. By the time you get to the show, you're not stressed out about, okay, I have to go 100 now. You've already been pushing yourself 100. You can coast and you'll be fine.
Cool. So, hey, I have a question. So what are some ways, other than practicing vocals separately and your dance separately and then practicing them together, what are some ways to encourage endurance with singing and dancing together?
If you like jogging, or if you like doing different types of exercises while you're running, okay, while you're running, while you're moving, really just pushing yourself any way to find a new level of control, because you're trying to control your breathing, control your vocals, and control all your extremities all at the same time. It's a new level of thought process, and it takes a while to get into the habit of or the level of control that takes. So anytime, any opportunity that you have while doing strenuous activity to practice your vocals or practice your movements, whatever the case may be, take it.
I love it. Any questions about this before we move on? Let's move on, guys. What's the next thing?
Okay. So I will then move to number 10. Come prepared to work. As choreographers, we love you. We need vocalists. Without vocalists, we don't have that much to do. That being said, when you come into a dance rehearsal, do not come with a mindset of being coddled, or he's going to go easy on me because this is not my strong suit, or this, that, whatever else. We have a mission, and our mission is to get you ready. Okay? And just as in vocal practice, it's not right, you got to do it again. You got to do it again. You got to do it again and again until you know you have it beyond the shadow of a doubt. There's no hesitation or okay, this is my note, got it. This is my note, got it. It's the same thing in in a dance rehearsal. And if we see that there's a step that's not right, especially if you're in a musical choreography, if you're on a single or solo performance, you can sneak some mistakes in. That's fine. But if you're on stage with multiple people and you all have to have the same timing and the same placement and the same movement, it's like a flock of birds. You all have to be in the same time, the same frame of mind, because if it's off even by a hair, it shows. It shows, and it takes away from the entire performance. So even if it's the most simple movement, we have to work it again and again and again until everybody looks the same. That being said, you have to come prepared to work. You have to come prepared to sweat. You have to come prepared to give your all, because we have to push you to those extremes to make sure, just like you do with your vocals, beyond the shadow of a doubt, when it's showtime, we can trust you to go on stage and kill. Because if not, we didn't live up to our job. We didn't live up to our expectations, and we failed you. And like I said, it's a mutual relationship. We have to work together.
So what does that mean, Marvin, to come prepared to work? So like a commercial singer coming prepared versus somebody in a show?
So first off, dress. Don't try to look cute. Don't try to look cute. We don't care about looking cute. Come prepared to sweat. Okay? No, because don't beat your face and all this other. No, come prepared to sweat. We don't care about makeup. All right? Bring some water, bring a snack, because you're going to be there a while. Nothing heavy. All right? Because you'll feel it. You'll feel it in your stomach and you'll feel off. If any type of drama, and we all go through it, try to leave it at the door. Try to leave it at the door and just come through ready to push, ready to give 100%. Yes, Lindsay.
So I want to kind of, this is super helpful, but I want to take it to a different direction about being prepared. And that's about being prepared for an audition. I had a dance audition for a musical a couple months ago. Well, no, longer than that. What am I saying? Way pre-COVID. And I had some anxiety about that, just not knowing what to prepare for, not knowing how to dress, wanting to know that I hadn't gotten that part yet, but still wanting to look cute for that audition. So how does coming prepared for a role you already have versus coming prepared for an audition, what are the differences there?
Okay. That's actually a very good lead in to...
Okay, sorry, I hadn't read the handout yet. So.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
And which is actually know your styles and what you're looking for. Yeah. This is also whether you're going into an audition or whether you're hiring a choreographer, for your show. Know your styles. Do some research. All right. If you know that it's going to be more of a hip hop audition, look at some hip hop styles. If it's a jazz audition, look at some jazz styles. Take some jazz classes. Just whatever the case may be, try to prepare yourself as much as possible. And also understand that every audition is completely different. Every audition is looking for something completely different. Some people are looking for someone that pops out. Mm-hmm. Some people are looking for someone that blends in with everyone else, that doesn't stand out too much. Some people are looking for someone tall, someone short, someone, bigger, someone smaller. Every audition is different. So whether you get the audition or you don't get the audition, it's impossible to know what was the deciding factor. And I've been through this myself. You audition, you do your best, and you move on with your day. That being said, there's no one tip I can give you as far as how to dress as far as catching the audition, because it depends on what they're looking for. What I can tell you is that dress to be comfortable. Okay? When you're dancing in an audition, especially, they don't want to see a lot of clothes adjusting. They don't want to see a lot of this. All right? I know for a fact it drives choreographers nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We use the show, Lindsay, as an example. Which show are you talking about that you auditioned for?
Mamma Mia.
Okay.
Mamma Mia.
Okay. So yeah, it's, again, every audition is different. Sometimes they're looking for a smile. Sometimes they're looking for an attitude. Sometimes they're looking for, femininity or masculinity or whatever the case may be. It's impossible to nail down, like, if you do this, you got it. You just have to kind of take a step back, look at the subject of the audition, what it's for. And if you have the ability to look at any type of related material, right? What is the feeling of Mamma Mia? Because I'm not going to audition for a Mamma Mia concert or whatever the case may be. The same I'd audition for, background for Cardi B. Wouldn't do it. Okay. So it's knowing your styles and knowing what they're looking for, trying to have an idea of what they're looking for. And also, in looking for choreographers, knowing what you're looking for. Because if you, in your mind, have an idea of, okay, I want to have, for my show or for my video or whatever the case may be, I want to have more of a hip hop feeling, but what you're actually thinking of hip hop is more jazz, and you hire a choreographer that's a hip hop choreographer, you are not going to get what you're expecting. And that is why I say, don't only look into styles, take classes, get an actual feel for what the styles look like. And when I say take classes, it doesn't mean make it your life, but it helps to understand how choreography works, how different people teach choreography, and also gives you a base understanding of what different styles are and what they feel like.
So question for you, Marvin. So if Lindsay or anybody is auditioning for a show, would it be a good idea for a singer to try to find out who the choreographer is in that show, who they've already booked, and try to find out what shows they've done before so you know how they work?
Definitely. Because a lot of choreographers, they have their base material. And so if you're lucky enough to be able to find previous things that they've done, previous shows or performances, it'll give you an idea as to what you can expect. So I would definitely say, try to figure out who's doing the choreography, who the choreographer is, and if you can, get a little inside work.
Cool. Do you think it's helpful to try to book with them in advance and work with them, or do you just go in cold?
I would say going cold.
Okay.
I would say going cold, because let's say that dance is not your strong suit. Okay. In working with this person, they are already going to have an idea, a preconceived idea of whether you're going to be good for the show or not. If you roll into their audition, they've already seen what you're capable of. Whereas if you roll in with everyone else, you're all starting at a blank slate. No one knows anything about you. No one knows what your strengths and weaknesses are. You're all exactly the same until push comes to shove. So yes, on the one hand, try to find out who the choreographer is. On the other hand, keep your distance until it's necessary.
Okay, awesome. All right, what's the next tip you have for us?
I would actually say, sticking with that subject, be upfront about your limitations. Let's say you nail that audition, all right? Or you find your choreographer, you're starting to work with the choreographer. Let the choreographer know, like, hey, in all honesty, I got a knee problem. I got a hip problem, or I got a back problem, or this, that, whatever else. As a choreographer, we much more so prefer to know these things ahead of time, so we can make decisions about, okay, who's going high, who's going low, who's jumping, who's stationary, who's this, who's that, and not only that, also what you feel comfortable with and what you don't feel comfortable with as far as sexuality and things of that nature. It's okay to say, I don't feel comfortable with this. This crosses lines for me. And that's going back to what I said at the very beginning about building a relationship, a relationship with the choreographer, that you know them, they know you, and they're not going to try and push you into or goad you into doing something that would cause you to feel uncomfortable. Because I unfortunately have seen that before, that there were people that they were afraid. They were afraid of maybe losing out on this audition or losing out on this contract or this show, whatever the case may be. And they went along with something that they did not feel comfortable with.
Can you tell us what happened? What show was it?
So it was really a small show. It wasn't a huge performance. It was a good friend of mine. And the choreographer was like, okay, well, I'm not really liking, this. Well, why don't you maybe lay down? And from laying down, it's like, okay, well, why don't you do this movement? And from doing this movement, why don't you do this movement? And I remember after it became very sexual in nature, very, very quickly. And to the point that after one of the rehearsals, she was crying. And I remembered, as much as she loved performing and as much as she loved dance, it was such a negative experience for her.
Now, would you say she should speak up while she's doing the movements or after?
No, like before, like if the choreographer says like, okay, well, all right, how about in this thing, I'm going to spice it up a little bit. So how about you go on the ground, all right, and then he like mock grabs your throat and then you arch. No,
I'm not comfortable.
I'm sorry. I don't feel comfortable with that.
So what's the line between a singer being difficult and a singer speaking their truth? Because I know a lot of singers are really afraid of the word difficult, because you want to be easy to work with. You want to be all on the same page with the show, but at the same time, you want to be honest about what you're comfortable with. What's a way that a singer can approach that and still feel like they're just speaking their truth and not being difficult?
So whether you're hiring a choreographer or whether the choreographer is already hired are two different ball games.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take it from the aspect of it's a musical and the choreographer is already hired. Okay. So that means you're working with an ensemble. It's not just you yourself. If the first off, the show, or it's hoped that you hope that you know the show you're getting into when you audition for the show. Okay. For example, when I choreographed Rent, all right, there are scenes in Rent or subject matter in Rent that is highly sexualized. Yeah. Highly sexualized. And it falls on the individual choreographer. Myself, I don't like using a lot of sexualized movements. I've never felt comfortable with it because I don't want to ever have anyone feel uncomfortable with any of my choreographies. And I try to build my choreographies, even if I'm using a sexual subject matter, Like if I mean, we're all adults. I did a choreography to WAP by Cardi B. I left areas of the choreography loose enough that if people wanted to interpret it in a more sexualized manner, they had the ability to do so, but there was nothing overtly sexual within the choreography itself that would have made anyone extremely uncomfortable. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There are other choreographers that have no problem crossing that line. Mm-hmm. Every choreographer is different. Going back to an ensemble, know the show and understand that if you're auditioning for a show that you know for a fact it's a highly sexualized subject matter, you can also expect that there will be more sexualized content within the choreography. And at that point, if you should, even in the audition, if it's going to be a problem, I would actually say, try to catch the choreographer's ear before the audition starts, or if there's a break, and just ask, is this going to be a more sexualized performance? And then you need to make a personal decision. On the solo side of it, you more so have the control because you are hiring the choreographer. So you can dictate to the choreographer, hey, this is what I'm feeling, this is my concept, which is also important, not to let the choreographer dictate or take control, but to come with your own ideas, your own concepts, your own visions, and meet with the choreographer in the middle to collaborate together and work together to build the show. But when you're bringing the choreographer in, after you've chosen your choreographer, give them your ideas, and also say, these are my lines. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I'm willing to do. And, if the choreographer says, well, why don't we try this? No, I've already stated my lines. And if not, I can find another choreographer. Do not be afraid to say no. Do not be afraid to draw a line. And if someone tries to cross that line, say, you know what, this isn't working out. I will find another choreographer. There are plenty of choreographers. Find a choreographer that you can work with together. Because if it's a one-sided relationship, or if you feel like you have lost control of your personal project, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. You will lose all of your heart. You will lose all of your soul. You will become divested in it. You will have no interest in actually continuing it. If you're working with a partner that you're both throwing out ideas back and forth, you're working together to build the show, you're still invested. You're wholly invested in it because you feel like you're a part of it also. It's your vision as well as the choreographer's vision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One more really quick note.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions so far, by the way? Does this all make sense? It's such a crazy balance between living your truth as a singer in person and being easy to work with. So it's really great to hear the perspective from the other side, who, someone who talks to singers all the time and teaches as the choreographer. So thank you. All right, yeah. So give us one more tip. Okay.
Know when to listen.
Oh.
Know when to listen. We all have our egos. We all think of how we look and we know how we feel, whatever the case may be. It's not always reality. Okay. And my favorite example is, I'm a dancer. I love to dance. There are times when I think, oh, I got it. I nailed it. Beautiful. Mwah, chef's kiss. And then the choreographer comes back and says, Marvin, what was that? Chef's kiss. Beautiful. What do you mean? No, Marvin, no. It's like, oh, okay. And then I'll actually see a video. And this actually happened in rehearsal. I started with a new company. And it was a style that I was still fairly new to. We were going through movements, and the choreographer was like, Marvin, go to the back. That was the first one. Marvin, don't use your hands. Just concentrate on your legs. That was the second one. And I was like, what is wrong with him? It feels good. I know I'm on my marks. I know I'm good. We went through the full choreography, and I'm like, okay, now he has to see it. I'm good. I know I'm good now. He's like, and he pulled me aside after class, like, Marvin, practice. Because that was, yeah. And I was, in my mind, he's crazy. But luckily, and I say this, luckily, I had asked one of my friends to video so I could see what was going on. And I was off. I was off at every point possible. And then it reminded me, okay, you know, my ego got the better of me. I went in, it was a new choreographer, it was a new company. I thought I could, you know, I had the control necessary, but it's a new skill. And I need to go back and learn to listen. Take critiques, not get defensive, and use it as a learning opportunity. And so also with learning to listen, in working with a choreographer, if a choreographer says, we need to run it again, they're seeing something that you don't see or you don't feel. Try not to argue. Just run it again. Yeah, it's annoying. It sucks. But it's a necessity.
Do you think it would be a good idea for the singer to say, hey, is there something we should focus on this time when we run it again? Or do you just say, okay?
Yes. Yes. Ask questions. Ask questions. It's okay to ask, you know, is there something, don't just ask a general why, but ask them for a specific thing that they want you to focus on. You know, ask them for, you know, well, is there, you know, something with my arms, something with my legs? Is it my timing? Is it my attitude? Is it my emphasis? Is it my strength? Am I too big? Am I too small? All of these things are important, especially in an ensemble, because again, everyone needs to look the same. And so if you're going big, if Marie's going big, Sue's going small, Lindsay's going ham off in the corner, and then Jesse's kind of do, 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 do. It doesn't work, okay? You all have to find an equal footing, all right, that balances one another.
Okay, cool. Anybody have any questions about this or an example of something that's happened? No, I have another question. I was thinking, you know, you just reminded me, a lot of times in auditions, you'll have like a cattle call where you have a lot of people in the back. Now there are auditions where it's just one-on-one, and that's a totally different situation. But if you're in an audition where everybody's allowed to watch from the theater, do you recommend asking a friend to video so you can see? Because I've seen directors not give information, and they won't tell you the why you got it. So it's nice to see it. That's a great reminder.
Yes. Anytime that you can video yourself, just like you would record yourself to check your vocals and to, you know, to get feedback. Yeah, if you can video, you know, to see what's happening, what's going on. If you can compare yourself or look at the comparison between the choreographer and yourself to see where the choreographer is hitting, how far they're going compared to you, it helps.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming today. These classes always fly by crazy.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, I'm going to send a
I really hope you enjoyed.
Information. So if anybody wants to reach out for him, I know you have some crazy specials going on, especially with choreography. I think it's like $10 and he'll send you the choreography of any music video you want. Is that
any song you want?
That's great.
Yeah, so you can practice at your leisure.
Awesome. Wow. Well, thanks so much for coming, guys. We're having a great day, and I really appreciate Marvin. Thank you so much for being here.
No, my pleasure. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, bye. You too.